Good morning, students. Now today we are going to start the economic cause of the revolt of 1857. Due to the economic cause, discontent among the peasants and artisans was there. Another one of the main important cause of the revolt of 1857 was the economic policy of the British and the economic exploitation of India, which affected all section of the Indian society, due to which all section of the Indian society was exploited. Now, let us see the first point. The problem is as the villages were self-sufficient earlier, due to the British policies, the commercialization of the agriculture was done, and the self-sufficient villages, they lost the self-sufficiency, and the peasants, they had to grow the cash crop instead of the food crop, and the peasants were further subjected to inhuman operations, that is inhuman behaviors, and they were made to sell the crops at nominal prices, means at a very less prices than it could be sold. Now, both the peasants and the zamindar, they were all dissatisfied due to the revenue policy of the British, as they were against the high taxes and the harsh method of the revenue collection. Now, the newly acquired territories, the British established direct contact with the peasants, who lost their rights and were often evicted from their land. Many riots found themselves in clutches of merciless moneylenders. Their effort to free themselves was not supported by the police or the government official. So the other main cause was that the British, the new territories that were acquired by the Britishers, the British started to collect the taxes directly from the peasants, in which the peasants had lost the right of their land, and further many peasants, they were in the clutches of the merciless moneylenders, to whom they had to pay the money which they have taken as a loan to pay the taxes to the government. Hence, the newly acquired states also suffered a lot due to the British policy of British economic policy. Now, large area of lands were confiscated and sold to the highest bidder. So, with their policies, the Britishers confiscated many lands, a large area of the land, and they sold it to the person who bidded highest price for those lands. Now, the large scale inflow of British manufactured goods. So another major economic cause was that there were large number of the British manufactured goods that were being manufactured in the industries, due to which the Indian homemade goods, they become costlier, and the manufactured good of the British, they were cheaper than the Indian. Hence, the most of the people used to prefer the cheap clothes that were made by the machine in place of the Indian clothes which were made by the hand and were costlier than the goods that were made or the clothes that were made by the machines. Thus, Indian artisans and the craftsmen were ruined. They suffered a lot. Now, the drain of wealth, lack of modern industries, and unemployment of several sections of the society added to the economic grievances of the people. So, as the Britishers were draining the wealth, there was even lack of the industries and unemployment of the several sections of the society. Due to these were also the reasons that the economic grievances of the Indian people rose. Now, there was also a social cause which resulted into the revolt of 1857. So let us see what were the social cause. The social reforms that British introduced, it was viewed as threat to the Indians. So the social reform and the Indian response to the reforms. So as Britishers had passed many laws against the abolition of sati, further legislation of the widow remarriage, and expansion of the Western education to the women, this was taken as a suspicious activity by the Indian society, by the conservative Indian societies, and it was considered as the undue influence to the Indian social custom of the country. So the many of the conservative people took these policies of abolition of sati, legislation of the widow remarriage, and education of women to the Western education, they took it as a grievance, as interference in their custom. Now, racism and threat to the religion. So social discrimination was faced by the Indian as the British started the racial supremacy, which was the major cause of the discontentment. Means the British started the racial discrimination among the people, which created the major discontentment among the people. What the British did, they described the Hindus as barbarians and Muslims as cruel and intolerant. This is why the British official often assaulted and insulted Indian publicly. So what the Britishers did, they used to call Hindus as barbarians and Muslims as cruel and intolerant, and this they used to do officially, and they used to insult the Indian publicly. Further, what happened is that the educated Indians were not given promotions and they were not given the equal opportunities in the appointment of to the high position as the Britishers were given. Further, they were also forced to stick to the subordinate positions in the service, and they were put on the racial discrimination. Means the racial discrimination was done with the Indians even in the field of jobs. Further, people also had threat with the Christian missionaries which were supported by the government, and the land which were under the temple and the mosque, they were taxed, which hurted the religious settlement of the people and deprived the families those were dependent on the income of these lands. Now, there was also a military cause which resulted in the revolt of 1857, which we will start tomorrow. Thank you.